the sort of narrative on social media very interesting going around about Michael Jordan's mentality, right?
Yeah.
And I knew that once they would talk about it in the documentary, how obsessed he is with winning, that a lot of people on social media would be like, yeah, I want to be that, or I want to be with that guy, whatever. When most people, I would probably even go as far as to say 85% of people, they're not built to be around somebody like that. They're not really built to be around a psychotic winner like that. And in the equation of Michael Jordan versus Steve Kerr, a lot of people think they're Michael Jordan when they're really Steve Kerr. And that's fine because 99% of people are Steve Kerr in terms of like.
No. Steve Kerr, don't diminish him. Steve Kerr went at him. He deserves some credit.
No, but that's what I'm getting to. I'm saying that if they were either one in the equation, that's who they would be. But most people wouldn't even get that far. Most people would probably just turn and be like, look at the way people are now with basic things like teamwork and things of that nature. Like, it's just a different time where a lot of people wouldn't be able to handle Michael Jordan. Gerard gave me props. Gerard Hector, friend of the show, gave me props. He said you could be teammates with Michael Jordan on Twitter. He was saying this about me because he thinks that I'll bark back at him, and I would. Look, my thing is, if you're gonna lose a fight, just go down swinging. You know what I mean? Don't run away from it.
That's fair. That's fair. That's
I've definitely got into it with teammates over stuff before. You know what I mean? Like, it happens. And I think I give Steve Kerr obviously a lot of props for, being a dude, especially as a white dude, to stand up to Michael Jordan in that situation. Not a lot of people want to do that. You know what I mean?
And he was that dude. Ben, do you think that anything that we see in this documentary to what Bryan's talking about how Jordan is, changes your perception of his character? Because it doesn't for me.
And Jordan warned us. He said that he thought a lot of people will come away from just hating him, and I don't think that there's really anything, at least for us, where we're gonna look at him then in that way.
I mean, here, where I think I have fallen out on this, right, is one, it reinforces a lot of the image we have, and Michael, who is apparently very concerned with his public image, right? Is out there worried about how people will perceive it when they see all of it, as opposed to just what was coming out at the time. We got the Jimmy Butler practice tweeted minute by minute, from Woj, within the hour. And
he only took one shot. He still maintains to this day he only took one shot that
the third stringers. It wasn't even the second. But it's the one thing Bryan said that is very true is that was Michael Jordan, and most people are not Michael Jordan, right? If you are not one of the, if not the best basketball players of all time, right? There's no question, top three, and it's really a argument of who else with Mike, right? You want to put in there.
Yeah.
Right? If you're not that dude, you don't have that much leash, right? Kerr said that, in the teaser. He was like, I have irrational confidence, but I'm not usually talented enough to back it up.
Right.
And it's if you're not Michael Jordan and you act that way and you can't back it up by being the hardest working, the best.
Then you're Ricky Davis.
Right. Or, whoever, to name anybody. Go for your own rebounds on the triple-double.
Yeah, I mean, most people, have egos and so on and so forth. They see themselves in that light when really, it's not the case. And I feel like this documentary should showcase that. Yeah. Of all the people that have all this confidence in themselves, and I feel like people should, there's a very small percentage of people that could back it up. And it's not always talent-based. A lot of hard work comes with that as well. And, obviously Michael Jordan's going to be able to get away with that. Steve Kerr, to some degree, is going to be able to get away with that because even being Steve Kerr is very, very difficult. Even getting to that level of whatever your profession is.
Yeah, so I wouldn't even say it's a matter of confidence, right? Because people should be confident. You got to be confident to be Steve Kerr to go back at Michael Jordan. Yeah. But it's that ability to lead by bullying, right? Which is essentially what we're talking about here, right?
Yeah.
The way he was going at Scott Burrell, blowing up his spot on the team playing while they're playing cards. The meme of the disrespectful look over his shoulder when he was posting them up already went around.
Which was great. I posted it.
But it's unless you are at the super talented, ultra elite level, people aren't taking that from you, right? Because you're just going to burn all your bridges otherwise, and nobody's going to give you the second chances, when it goes sour.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you blow up with someone else who's, at a more elite level than you in a situation, you pop off on your boss the wrong way and you don't got the standing to back it up. So that's the thing that people have to keep in mind. And like the other piece of it is like, that's not the way you have to do it, right?
That's
We've
true.
seen so many other examples like Tim Duncan, Steve Kerr as a coach, right? Phil Jackson as a coach. There's you look at the whole list of people that have won in the NBA and won in sports. Not everybody does it like this.
Right.
And people can be highly successful.
Right. There's many different forms of leadership. I said that as a guest on another podcast. There's many different forms of leadership, which is why I don't kill Michael Jordan. I think Michael Jordan led the players the way he thought was the best to get them to what they need to do. Ben, I completely agree with you. You can be an asshole and get away with it if you're really, really, really damn good and you get results, right? Like that's the key thing. It's so much that the people know that you're an asshole, but they're like, no, we still believe in this guy, so we're going to follow him, right? Like, no, and they know the results work. So I think the Judd Bushlers, the Bill Wenningtons, the Luke Longleys, the Steve Kerrs of the world, they respected him. Even Scott Burrell, who was a talented player coming out of college, they still respected what he brought to the table. And I think the thing I looked at, you didn't feel like any of those dudes hated them. They looked at him and was like, no, we know what he's doing. We know why he's being like this. He's not being like this just to be like this.
Right. But they wouldn't also probably have him on speed dial.
Yeah. They're not calling him up to hang out.
Like maybe that's not the life Mike wants to live.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the way some other people want to live. And like a lot of people don't think about that trade-off.
Yeah,
that's true.
Like even when I look at Michael Jordan's like house and the different places that he's doing these interviews, I don't get the sense that there's a lot of people in that building. You know what I mean? I get the sense that he's just kind of there most of the time because that's just Mike being Mike. I think the other important thing to note is that the reason why he can also get away with these things, and he lent voice to this in the documentary, is that he's not really asking dudes to do things that he wouldn't do himself. You know what I mean? And I think that's very important in terms of his leadership style, really any leadership style, because you want to lead by example also. And a lot of people use lead by example as a cop-out to be like, nah, I'm just not vocal. I just want to lead by. No, like leading by example means you have to. Yes, you have to be.
Damn. Oh man.
Not who I was thinking of when I didn't think of anybody in particular, but no.
I know you weren't because you're Carmelo.
Carmelo Anthony's half Puerto Rican. You know what I'm saying? Like I leave him alone.
I'm on Team Melo.
You know what I'm saying? But what was it? But
was with all the leadership in the locker room.
Yeah. But when it comes down to it, I think leading by example, a lot of people use it as a cop-out because they're afraid to go at people in that way. They're afraid to sort of take the Michael Jordan approach to feel like they're overbearing, the Kobe Bryant approach and things of that nature, where I think that most people leading by example is not just in action, it's also in words. I feel like it's also be like, look, I'm going to do this and I believe you can do the same thing. So let's do it together.
I think there's also a good point in a player that made me think about that Ben brought up in Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan is kind of known as this very quiet guy, right? But that doesn't mean that he wasn't telling people that what they needed to do. I think people confuse the two sometimes. Like being publicly vocal doesn't mean that you're not vocal at all. Those are two different things. Like I can say in a very different demeanor, like, hey, Ben, you need to do this, or I think you need to come here on time. And that's still leadership. That's still, to Brian's point, you still need to be able to exercise that. Just because you don't do it demonstratively or you're not in the Kobe Jordan way of doing it doesn't mean that you're not vocal with your leadership. So,
you can be vocal and not a dick.
Right.
That's basically what you're saying.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that's basically it at the end of the day. Yeah, Ben, you were about to say something.
Because as somebody who has taken on managerial roles in my career, right? Like as I've progressed, one of the things I've struggled with is like, I have an innate want for people to like me, right? And, generally I carry myself in a way where that's not an issue at all, but you can't have that be the dominating, attitude in every moment when you're somebody's boss.
Right.
Because being the boss means taking on the responsibility. So one of the things I've realized I had to work through some internal chafing on was, you can't just not tell people and not communicate and take it on yourself, right? Because if you're taking it on instead of giving someone the advice to correct it and do it themselves, and even if they're only going to do it to 75% of what you can do, right? If they're spending 100% of their time on that 75% and you're spending 0% of your time on it and it still gets done, that's the job, right? Like, you know, and that's bringing things along, and people don't want to be in that, you know, to Brian's point, like about people don't want to be that person who's like correcting people, right? And firing off a note in the middle of the Slack, like, yo, you spelled, you know, whoever's name wrong in a headline, right? Yeah. Like, you know, and you got to just be able to do that in the moment and not have it be a thing.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm correcting you because I saw this and I want it to be correct, not because you did it wrong.
Right. It's not personal. It's just me doing my job and delegating and saying what needs to be done. Right. But that's part of leadership. It's good.